Oh, hi, Larry. Your worthless friend Ben left already.
Actually, I needed to talk to you about something.
Ooh, I'm all ears. But speaking of this one, it works a little better.
So Ben is struggling with the pool. You know, he really needs a break. I mean, he's a great guy, so I was hoping maybe you'd be willing to drop the charges a little bit sooner.
Drop the charges? Why would I do that? Have you seen my backyard?
What if we...
Oh. Well, we can do this, Larry. But I hope you don't think this is just going to be some 5-minute quick fix. You're going to have to work hard for this one. It's going to take a lot of overtime to bring this job to completion. And I think you should know, I'm allergic to latex.
Ugh, of course you are. Lambskin too?
Deathly.
Saran wrap?
Oh, Larry.
Well, Dan, let me ask you a question.
Let me answer a question. Your question.
Are the movie wars over? Or are we going to continue?
Well, I
sending
wouldn't call...
salvos?
Okay, here, let me put it this way. With these movies that I'm looking at, it is not my intention to continue waging war, but it has a 4 on IMDb.
Movie wars! All right, let's get into the podcast. Hey, guys.
Hey!
This is the Old Boys
Girls.
podcast.
I'm going to address
and
the
one
ladies.
lady, probably.
I think we lost our female listener, actually.
Did we?
Yeah. Well, we're on Spotify, so hello, weird person who has this on at a party and forgot to turn podcasts off. I don't think that would ever work.
Who listens to podcasts on Spotify?
They just
fucking
randomly,
animals?
like, you put them on and you go to the podcast and then, like, it's like Spotify. It plays randomly. And we have been getting fucking numbers from Spotify. Like,
That's
it's weird. But they're
That's
like
weird.
international numbers too. Like, I'll get people from Bolivia on Spotify. I'm like, what the fuck?
Great American Radio. That's how people sound in Bolivia, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I
I think you got it right.
that's correct. Everyone sounds like Borat, who I don't know because I'm racist. We like to have fun here. So, Dan, for God's sakes, Father of the Year. That's the movie we
Father
watched.
of the Year, Happy Madison Productions.
Danny, could you explain this movie in your own words and in your own time?
Can I really address an issue first before I get into it?
Sure, if you want to be disrespectful.
Oh, I want to be disrespectful. Are you ready for this disrespect that I'm going to pull out?
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Who the fuck went and watched Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison and Mr. Deeds and Daddy whatever the fuck, Lil Nicky? Who watched those movies and is like, you know what? I want to make a production company that focuses on this type of humor so we can have it for years to come, and I will put all of my money into anything. It doesn't matter what the plot of the movie is, but it's going to get funded. Who did that?
Happy Madison is let's keep my friends employed company. That's what it is.
Oh my God. But is David Spade like the thing that needs to be employed right now?
I think so.
To be fair, I enjoyed, David Spade, and I enjoyed the other guy in this movie. It was everything else about the movie that I just couldn't get into. Okay, so Netflix pitches this film as two college bros get drunk and then say, I bet my dad can beat up your dad, and it escalates, and then it happens. But the film is so much more than that I feel like if you start with that premise, you need to maintain that premise hardcore. Instead, they had like a love story in the mix of it. They had a bunch of really weird characters that were just there for like one-off jokes that never returned.
Dan, are you explaining the plot? Are you?
So basically,
what is your
it's
job?
about this guy.
Do your job.
It's
Do
about
your
these
job.
two friends who came back from school, and one of them is really cool. The other one is a slacker, and they both like say, "Well, I bet my dad can beat up your dad." I forgot how they got to there. It was long-winded. It took forever to get that point, and then eventually the dads do beat each other up. But it ends up fucking one of the kids' lives over, who actually has his whole life set out for him. Now he's arrested. He can't fucking do anything, and then he starts to realize that he likes it in his hometown, and he has his nice little girlfriend from 6th grade that he's trying to court, and his dad is David Spade and likes to be naked and drunk.
Yeah, he does.
And gets tits for a reason we may discuss.
We will discuss. So, Dan, my first impressions. I think we've heard a little bit of yours.
Yeah, I was bleeding. I was bleeding through my open wound.
So I, again, surprisingly, didn't hate this movie like I thought I would.
See, I fucking hated this movie.
Much like the, I don't even remember the other movie, the Super Puppies movie, or whatever the fuck, Super Buddies?
Super Buddies, yeah.
I had such low expectations for this film that I think it actually helped the film. One thing that helped it is Adam Sandler wasn't in it. So that was good.
Yeah.
The other thing that helped it is that the main focus of the story is not on David Spade or any of Adam Sandler's old buddies. It's all about these younger kids. And
right.
I think these kids do a good job in this movie.
In terms of acting?
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say that. I don't think the
well
film
shot.
is written
What?
very well.
Really? I actually feel the opposite.
Mm.
All right, I think I see what you mean. The dialogue felt fluid. I enjoyed the back and forth banter between the characters.
Mm-hmm.
I was attributing that to the writing. Maybe it could be more acting. I don't know. But I thought the culmination of all of that coming together, like there's a lot of little moments with him and that the girl he's been hitting on. I enjoyed all of those.
Right. Whenever I think of writing, I don't think it's more than just dialogue. It's the actual, way the narrative moves. And my biggest issue with it is it purports to be something in the title.
Uh-huh.
And it has nothing to do with that. The story has nothing to do with father.
Yes, the negative thing about this film is that it is disjointed and not focused.
Well, that's what I mean by it's not written very well. Yeah, there's good dialogue, but what takes me out of the movie is the fact that I can't get through 5 minutes without being like, what the fuck are we doing here? Or why did that happen?
It's almost like a series of sketches
Exactly.
that are kind of loosely tied together to a premise.
And then sometimes people can pull that off very well. Other times it doesn't feel fluid, and this time it didn't feel fluid for me. So that's what sucks about that is that's what takes me out, which is why I don't even like the first Star Wars, because I went back and I watched. I've said this multiple times, but the first Star Wars to me feels like it's like
aimless
and just barely like a thin tiny string that holds all
I'm
these
afraid
big,
to watch it now.
Oh, it's nasty. It's nasty. I can't stand it. Like the new one. Man. So whenever I watched all of the new ones that were out, The Force Awakens has a more just intricate plot. Like it's a simple movie, whereas the first Star Wars is just like bam, 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 and then I'm gonna connect the dots. You know what I mean? Anyway, I felt the same about this film. Like it was very connect the dots. Some of the jokes did not land with me. Some of the jokes did.
But when they landed, there were some moments where I was fucking laughing hard.
Really?
Like, yes.
I'm trying to remember because there were some moments where
funny
I was
stuff
laughing
in this movie.
I wouldn't say hard, but I laughed out loud at certain moments, but I don't remember what they were.
We'll go through some of the funnier moments in the film for sure. So overall, I enjoyed this movie. It is a little disjointed. I like the writer. The same guy who wrote this movie also directed it, and he co-wrote it with another dude who did like a lot of Adam Sandler movies that we probably don't like. Like that movie where Adam Sandler plays his twin sister. Like those ones.
Yeah, so like the post mid 2000s,
the new Sandler.
So after
stuff.
after Lil Nicky, basically.
But I like to accredit this to the director, who looks very young in his photo. I don't know exactly how old he is, but I think he did a good job directing. I'm assuming this of him, that he did the bulk of the writing, or at least helped, because I enjoy the writing in this movie, like we were saying before. But you're definitely correct in saying that the movie is not as focused as I think it should be. Because in a lot of these films, like a road trip movie, there's the starting motivation, and then there's that journey someone's taking. Like, there's a goal. People are trying to get to a thing. And this movie, there's kind of like...
What was the fucking...
He's already achieved his goal,
like
and
Rat
he
Race.
lost it. Yeah.
Where they're all trying to get that one thing of money, and it's like it's little vignettes of all these people trying to get it, but it's like it feels cohesive.
Yeah,
and
like when you think of Dirty Work, it's the two brothers are trying to get an operation done for their dad, and they need to raise money. So the whole film, they can do silly vignettes, but there's a reason they're always doing everything, because they're trying to make money to do these jobs no one else.
And it feels like that goal is pretty well written into the sketches. Like it doesn't leave the sketch.
Yeah,
like there's still purpose in it.
And in this movie, there's like a scene where the dad, the nerd dad, goes to a hotel because he's afraid of the other dad. And he's pretending he's trying to learn karate on TV, and then his son comes over. He gives him a pep talk, and then he's like, "Oh, I left my Percocets at home, but I'm too embarrassed to go back and get them, or I'm afraid of the other dad." So he's like, "Oh, let's just go to my drug dealer." And you're like, "This seems very random. This is like a weird side quest in this movie." But I'm glad they did go there, because it's some of the funnier moments in the film when they do. But it doesn't make sense. The line to get there was. It was difficult. We were swimming against the current, if you will. But I'm like, hey, I'm glad we're here, but maybe you could have found a better way for us to get here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, so as long as I guess we agree on that, because that's really what my biggest beef with the movie is. It's just they swim upstream a little bit too much there.
Yes.
We'll call it that.
But like I said, it makes up for it in some of, like, I just found this movie charming. Whenever that guy's hitting on that girl, the two leads, I like them.
I didn't like.
They're pretty cute.
I didn't like.
You didn't like her?
No, I didn't like
Sexist.
her flirting. Like, oh, you have a very approachable dick. It's like, what?
That was funny.
It was dumb.
It's like a backhanded compliment.
Well, now see. It is a backhanded compliment, but I'd imagine that you probably enjoyed these types of movies more as a kid, whereas I didn't really watch a lot of comedies as a kid. I was more like, I only watched horror movies as a child. But my comfortable place, that no matter how bad a horror movie gets, I'm gonna fucking watch it, man.
I'm also starved for comedy. I feel like comedy right now is dying.
Awful. It's terrible, and it needs to come back.
It's just Marvel movies now. That's your new comedy. Marvel and DC
or
movies.
Like
there's no comedy movies.
That one tag.
I mean,
movie.
they're around. What movie?
The tag movie where they play like the international tag game.
Yeah, is that a comedy?
Yeah, but it's like every once in a while.
Are you sure?
Because it's like it's the same people who did The Hangover, so it's like now the only comedies we will ever get is like either from Anchorman and that lineage or Hangover and that lineage. Like,
yeah, where's the new group?
Exactly.
You know? Fuck, where are the new?
Have you seen the
comedians?
new Super Troopers?
I have not yet. I want to.
I want to as well, but like it's being overshadowed, and you know the funding may not even be there, and it's a very terrible time for comedy. I don't know.
Yeah,
stand up though it's not, because Tom Segura on Instagram, he posted the new Family Guy trailer.
Oh God, does he like Family Guy?
Well, they make fun of Tom Segura in the new season.
Oh, what?
They're thumbing through Netflix, and it's like comedy special. It's like, Tom Segura, who the fuck is that? And Brian's like, oh, they give everybody a special now.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Shots fired.
I
dude.
know. So he posted
Does
it. It was
actually
really funny.
show Tom Segura?
No. It's just them talking about it. But they say his name, Tom Segura. Who is this? And it's like, oh, they just giving everybody specials now. But
that is like a joke for one person, and that person is Tom Segura.
Yeah.
Like, who else is that joke for? That's such a
well,
weird...
I mean, all stand-up comedians who are on Netflix. Because, like, there's a lot of stand-up on Netflix.
Yeah, but out of all of them, it's funny that they would pick him. God, that's
probably
pretty
because
great.
he can take a joke. That's my guess.
Holy shit, that's so funny. He will sue, though. He will sue. He is sue crazy. Anyways, all right, Dan, why don't we get into this film? I think that'll help the listeners truly understand the majesty
licensors?
And the glory
of
Father of the Year. Yeah, even saying Father of the Year, you're like, what are you talking about, movie? What does that have to do with this film? This film was more about the two kids.
The guy doesn't, I mean, I will admit that David Spade does come through for his kid in his own way, but he doesn't fix anything at all. He just makes
he's a real
it worse.
fuck up throughout a lot of it. Yeah. He helps his son. I mean,
but,
he gives him advice
he helps
and stuff.
him, but at the same time, like, if it's Father of the Year, you would expect a little bit more payoff for being that, but he's not really a dad that pays off, if you know what I mean. How did you like David Spade in this movie? I liked him. I mean, I like David Spade in general.
Yeah, I mean,
I like looking at him. He did a very good job. He's kind of a hillbilly, like, white trash dude who has like a very intense Midwestern accent, and he pulls it off very, very well.
Yeah, he does a great job in this movie. I liked him a lot. I thought he was funny. Everything worked. Why I was worried is because the last film I saw him in was Joe Dirt 2.
Oh,
and
well,
that is not a film. It is incomplete. I think it was a crowdfunded movie, and it shows. I don't know that that movie just made me sad because I liked Joe Dirt 1 when I was younger, but boy, did that leave a bad taste in my mouth. And so knowing he was going to be in this, I was like, okay, all right. But yeah, he was fucking funny. Nate Faxton, who plays the nerdy dad, he was good in this too. So let's talk about the cast of characters. We have David Spade, who his character's name is Wayne, but we're just going to call him David Spade.
Yeah.
Because it's easier to just see David Spade in your brain. Marty, I like with a D, Mardy. That was kind of silly. He's the nerdy dad, which I'm just going to call Nerd Dad. And then we have Ben, who is David Spade's son. And then we have Larry, who is like the
jockey.
I wouldn't say jockey. I don't know. He doesn't really act jockey. He's
just
more of like a ladies' man.
He's a ladies' man. He's like buff. He's the cute one, and Ben is the one that's like kind of a nerd. Then you have Crystal and I don't remember the kid's name. Crystal is Marty's wife or new wife. Mm-hmm. And that wife has a son who's like this little piece of shit that only Aiden.
Or we can call him Damien, I think is the better.
Damien. He pranks the hell out of Marty, but his pranks consist of just filling things up with piss and making piss come into the house somehow. And then whenever Marty yells at him, he's like, I think I did it. I don't know. I don't recall.
That little kid is so good. He's so funny.
He was good, but I just didn't appreciate the humor, I guess.
Putting piss in a humidifier was very funny to me because I use a humidifier. Mm-hmm. So we have one in our house. And it's just, I never thought of that as a gag or doing that. I just think it would be the most disgusting thing.
Of course it would. It's disgusting.
There's some pretty original, from my perspective, like I hadn't seen this in a film, like putting piss in a humidifier. That's a new gag. Mm-hmm. You know, like they're really trying, I think, in this movie to do gags I have not seen before. And a lot of them work, which I enjoyed. Then we have PJ, who is like the nerdy kid.
Is he? Yeah, he's the one that's like Napoleon Dynamite, and they even call him Napoleon at one point.
Yes. I thought his character was funny. I enjoyed it.
The other one, I will say, like, I didn't like his... I really fucking hated his backstory. So basically, all these kids are back from college. Uh-huh. And they're like on their little respite before they go, to their
off
careers.
Into the world. Yep.
And this other kid that's not PJ, he's trying to start a biker gang. And that's not funny, but what's funny is how every single time, like his thing is the most slapstick thing in the movie, where he's trying to jump on his bike from afar, or where he rear ends the SUV and like flies over it.
Yes,
that was fucking hilarious. Like,
do we ever see him again after his second car accident?
No.
God damn it, that's funny. Because I wanted more of that kid like crashing the bike. But they literally leave him on the side of the highway, and I don't think we ever see him again. Like, I don't remember him being in the film. And what's great, too, is they make the biker kid I can't even remember his name or what he looked like because they give him such a nothing character. Really, he's just there to do pratfalls and hurt himself.
Yeah.
And I
Which,
like
I
that.
mean, and I like it too, but I don't like that was one of the only things I laughed at.
It was fucking funny though.
Well, I know that, but
God.
I wish there was more, things that were not so, I'm going to watch somebody hurt themselves to get my jollies,
That's the thing that I really miss is slapstick, because that's not in films anymore.
Because it's part of that PC culture. It's like that whole violence thing.
Maybe, man. I don't know.
If
But
I guarantee you, if you
where are all the Zuckerberg movies?
Well,
that's what I
even
want.
before the Zuckerberg, if you go and to like a far lefter, like a radical left wing piece of shit who doesn't know how to read and is only social warrior, and you show them an episode of the Three Stooges, they would be so like disgusted.
Oh, Jesus.
Don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. They could find something to be upset about. Yeah, you're right.
And it promotes abuse. Bunny ears.
Man. I'm gonna promote abuse to Surgeon General right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're gonna see. Then we're gonna see where that joke goes, which is nowhere. Spoiler alert. Gotcha, motherfucker. So I liked that. I don't think there's any other real characters we care about. Everyone else is ancillary. Oh no, I'm sorry.
There's the girlfriend.
Name? It can't be fucking Meredith.
Yeah, it is. It's Meredith.
It's Meredith?
Yep.
They give her a grandma name?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. All right, Meredith. But yeah, she's great in this movie. Everyone is pretty good. So, okay, we have these characters. Our introduction to David Spade.
It's like the first 5 fucking minutes of the movie. Like this.
Oh my god, it's so funny though.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, I want you to break down the scene, and I want to know exactly what you laughed at.
So the first things they show, the two kids pull up to their dad's house, and the one boy's like, I'm nervous about seeing my dad again. He's kind of a goof or whatever. He's like, don't worry about it, man. He's your dad. And they pull up to this trailer home, and instead of coming out the front door, he emerges from underneath the house.
Mm-hmm.
And he's covered in dirt. And he's like moving a chair or something around.
It's a mattress.
Yeah, a really dirty, disgusting mattress. And he doesn't even see the kids. And then he goes inside and he texts them to bring him Q-tips and a 6-pack of beer. And then 10 seconds later, they get out because they're already there. And then the dad sees them. He's like, oh, hey, guys. He's like, did you bring those Q-tips? And he's like, no, Dad. We were here the whole time. Like, we didn't have any time to do that. He's like, oh. Well, did you bring that, how about that 6-pack of beer? He's like, no, Dad. We were here the whole time. Like, we had no time to do that. He's like, all right, well, we'll work it out. And then he turns to the other kid and asks him if he has Q-tips. Oh,
I guess that's silly, but I don't think I was laughing out loud at it.
There were... It was almost like the movie was chipping at an ice wall that I had set up, and then eventually it got me into, like, so many little jokes worked that it got me into a laughy mood.
Well, how did you feel about the very next scene where he has made his own swimming pool in a neighbor's truck?
It became funny once I realized that was not even his truck. That was funny, and I also liked that he made it a jacuzzi by taking a mixer, those electric mixers, and he had one of the boys connect it to a power source and put it into the truck of the bed, and turn it on so that bubbles could happen. And he's completely naked in it. And the stunts, if I haven't said this already, the stunts in this movie are pretty great.
Yeah.
They really help the film because he's sloshing around in there while the truck is going.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and then he eventually falls out butt naked in
I
the
liked
street. I'm not going to let the fact that you said truck of the bed go and and basically said,
we, though?
Yeah, and didn't even correct yourself.
Well, I saw that I had said it wrong, and I'm just like, I don't know, truck of the bed, I guess.
But you sold it as like, you know what, fuck it.
Yeah.
We still don't know what I'm talking about.
Truck of the bed, baby.
Truck of the bed.
Let's see. Okay, so they're at the bar. We've met the dad. We do meet the other dad and the nerd dad, and basically what we establish from him is that he's been emasculated by everyone in his life. His son is is basically telling him what to do, and it literally at one point said he's going to sleep with his mom, and he's going to sleep on the couch. And he's like, sure, yeah, that sounds great, son. I'll just sleep on the couch.
So this is his stepson, by the way. Yeah. Aiden is the daughter of Crystal. He was basically berating him for not doing something. He's like, I'm going to sleep with mom tonight. It's like, whoa, what?
It was pretty great. So the whole time, the two boys are like talking about it, like, man, your dad is like such a wimp. Like, I don't know who he could beat or whatever. And they're like, well, you could probably beat up my dad. And so that's kind of, well, it started more at the bar. But then the nerd dad goes on and talks about the story about him beating up a flasher. So like this guy was flashing in the neighborhood and he ran up and punched him in the face. Now the payoff to that, I don't think is very good, because later on we find out that the flasher, he never beat up the flasher. The flasher beat him up and then forced him to drive around flashing people. This I didn't find as funny. This whole sequence, I was like, let's just get this over with.
Well, okay, like,
there's a few scenes where I'm just like, I'm not into this.
I was neutral with that scene. Until it went on for way too long.
Yeah, it was going on for a while.
There were so many moments in the story where he started talking and then he would stop talking, and then we would get like the guy flashing people, and he flashed at least 12 people in that sequence, which is like 5 max. You know, you don't need to show every single thing.
So, okay, we have our characters at the bar. They meet up and they're watching this Marine, and they're like, would you be able to kick this guy's ass? And they're like, no way. He's a Marine, and they were talking about it. And I like how they bring this up very early on, because later on, the kid Larry and Ben are the two main characters. Larry doesn't know what he wants to do with his life. And I really thought this was a throwaway line, because people keep making fun of him for being like, why do you want to go on this trip to New York with Ben? Because Ben wants to go to New York to get his new job.
Right.
And Larry's just going to go because he's just going to go. He literally has no reason other than he's my friend and it would be fun to go to New York. So he's aimless. And I really thought this film was only going to be about Ben and his story. But they did a really good job of incorporating his other friend, like balancing these two things. And I was like, wow, they're really focusing on this secondary character. I did not think they were going to do that at all. This tease of them talking about the Marine and how they get into the discussion of could each of their dads beat each other up and why is a great starting point for the film. And I liked it a lot because the payoff is, of course, we know that Larry eventually joins the Marines. And you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. So he finally figured out like what he wanted to do. And I don't know. I thought it was...
But then you want to think
cool.
about like whenever they were talking about beating up the Marine, Larry says something like, no, I wouldn't beat him up just out of respect. I'd let him beat me up or something.
No, it was...
And then Ben's like, see, I'd blow him first. Like, he says that without any provocation. He's just like, I would blow the guy and then let him beat me up.
That's what makes it funny.
But then I'm saying, like, connect that to Larry joining the Marines, if you get me. Nothing wrong with that, but they're sending mixed signals because we all know that Larry likes old women and... Meredith is not a...
Well, yeah, we'll get into Meredith. Well, I think the thing was they were saying how passive they could be towards this guy because they're like, no, I just let him kick my ass. And then the way for him to one-up it would be like, well, I'd blow him first. And then I'd let him kick my ass.
Is that what the joke was?
Yes, that was the joke.
I didn't fucking get it. I'm just like, why the fuck would you say that?
So the two boys start this thing, and they start talking about it to each of their fathers. And, of course, David Spade being the drunk weirdo who can't let things go. And he feels like he's a failure to his son because he doesn't have a job. He's living in a trailer. He's divorced. And he always felt like when his son was little that he looked up to him and he was like his hero. But now he's just like, I don't really got much to be proud of. So he's like, I'm going to make my son proud of me by beating this guy up. So he gets drunk. This is within the first 30 minutes of the film. And how did you like the sequence of their first fight? Because there are a few fights in the film. Yeah, I thought it was okay.
It was neither here nor there. I'm just like, all right.
What was interesting to me watching this film and watching the trailer is that I feel like the trailer goes out of its way to make the film not funny or entertaining. Because like some of the same sequences I watched out of context in the trailer, I did not like. And then those same sequences I watched with context were so much better. So I don't know if it was just a poorly edited trailer.
Yeah, people don't know how to edit trailers anymore, especially for comedy movies. Like, so much of comedy is based around the context, and there's a way to edit comedy trailers properly, and this one didn't do it very well.
Yes, and in the trailer of the film also seemed a little misleading too, because it's like we were saying, it's more about Ben getting his job back and Larry finding a purpose in his life, and not really about the two guys fighting. That's like
not really about
secondary
fathers
story.
or being of the year.
No, it's their sons are actually helping them. So then we have this confrontation. They end up on the roof, and the two dads are kind of fighting. I don't know. And the son, Ben, tackles his dad, David Spade, and they fall into a greenhouse, which is the next door neighbors. This throws them in jail, which is the catalyst for the entire film, because now Ben has lost his future job in New York because nobody wants to hire a convict, and it's ruined their plans. Mm-hmm. So they make a deal with the old lady, Meredith, who is great in this movie.
No,
I love her.
She's not Meredith.
Oh, I'm sorry. Not Meredith. See, Meredith, old lady name. What was the old lady's name?
I don't know what the old lady's name is.
Meredith 2. Ruth, probably.
Ruth.
Oh, God. Meredith is an old lady's name. I'm sorry if your name is Meredith, but your parents don't love you. That's what I'm trying to tell you. We'll call her old lady. So they make a deal with old lady. She's like, I want a pool in my backyard. And they're like, a pool? We don't know how to do that. And she's like, well, that's fine. And they're like, well, are you going to drop the charges? She's like, no. That's the stakes of the film. They have to build the pool. And it kind of took us a while to get there, so he can get his job back and maybe get those charges dropped. But you're thinking, there's no way he's going to be able to get this job back, even if he gets the charges dropped, because time and everything, the stigma of that, everything. And it does actually turn out that way, to where he can't get the job. The story gets a little convoluted, and he gets an interview with the fucking CEO of the company, which is insane.
But they make it even more fucking insane.
The VR thing?
Yeah.
So we can talk about that briefly if you want.
So the very end, David Spade gets his son this interview with the CEO, who is voiced by Kevin Nealon. Really? Kevin Nealon has nothing else to do besides this
He can do some VO work and just say a few lines and get paid, Shit.
But basically, this interview is all done in virtual reality, and they
in the shittiest like PS1 graphics.
Yeah, and they all become animals. So Ben becomes a monkey, David Spade becomes a kangaroo, and he's not having it. He's freaking out. And then Kevin Nealon, at first he's a rabbit? I don't remember, but he turns into an alien eventually.
So I like the premise of this gag. I did not find it particularly funny.
No, I didn't either.
For the execution. There's a lot of things in this movie, like I said, that I hadn't seen in newer comedies, like messing with VR, like doing a VR gag. There's potential there for comedy. But here I was just like, let's just get to the next scene. It's like, it's not doing too much for me. Same thing when the father and son go on the wife carry run. So there's this weird run where you're supposed to, husband and wife have to like hold their wives upside down on their backs.
That is going to be the still image, because this scene, I don't know how I feel about it because of how fucking insane it is. Because it's called like this something wife carry. And yeah, they carry them where their butts are on the back of their head.
Yes.
And they like wrap their thighs around the neck. And then it's like reverse 69 almost, where like you're eating ass instead of eating dick. If you get me.
You are.
So
you feel me?
It looks very, very awkward and uncomfortable just looking at it. And then they're supposed to run. And then also Mayhem is in that scene for some reason.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Is that the guy who's like shit talking him?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that scene was only really there for Ben and Spade to bond as father and son. So I understand why it's there. Because Ben is pissed off that he lost his job and got in jail, and this was kind of like their bonding moment. And that worked. It's just I was so confused by the setup because it was just David Spade texting his son about some wife run. And I'm like, what is a wife run? I don't understand. Why does he want his son to do it? I thought David Spade didn't have a wife. I don't like there's so many questions. And then they do it, and I liked the payoff for that better than I liked the actual scene. Like the actual scene I thought was pretty stupid. It was same way I felt about the VR scene. I was kind of like, whatever. Next scene. But I liked them at the restaurant after, where they're just kind of sitting and talking together.
Yeah.
And a lot of the movie, I liked those scenes the most, where it's just two people interacting, going back and forth, talking to each other. Whether it's David Spade and Ben or Larry and Ben, usually Ben is involved because he's the main character. But I enjoyed all of those scenes. They were great. It just felt like they needed some action in the film, and they made this scene of like, let's throw giant balls. It's like a mud run, if anyone knows what that is. I think because that's what I've actually heard of. You're running through, and there's mud everywhere. And
you know what? It's a weird comedy trope that this exact thing happens, where they they throw in an outdoor activity like a race. Like they did that with that fucking Robin Williams, John Travolta movie, like Old Dogs. And it was the best scene in the movie because because what's his face? Justin Long from Tusk and Jeepers Creepers. He was like the bully. He was Mayhem's character, but he's like this really tiny, lanky guy. So he's just like, hey. I forgot what he said, but he has the best line in the film because that whole movie was shit.
He's like, hey, you want to turn me into a walrus? I want to get fucking turned into a walrus, motherfucker. Yeah. Kevin Smith, hook me up, dog.
God, that movie still gives me nasties.
If you don't know what we're talking about, Kevin Smith made a horror movie called Tusk, and it's something.
Maybe we'll release that episode again soon. So, like
it's
classic.
a thing that happened.
Oh my god.
Probably.
Honestly, probably his best fucking work.
Yeah.
The ability, like
in a while.
The fact that he was able to get a visceral, gut-wrenching reaction out of me. And he's fucking the guy who did Clerks and Jay and Silent Bob and Chasing Amy, but now he's like this fucking horror mastermind that I came out of left field.
He's like
Jesus.
if we had a really big budget and knew what we were doing, and we just
exactly.
any of our dumb ideas.
The
would
more
just make a film
the
like
more
that.
I think about that film, like it drives me insane. And I haven't really said this on the podcast, but the more I think about Tusk, the more I'm like, this film is brilliant. Outside of a certain, like outside of some of the things, like, you know, the Johnny Depp character didn't need to be in it, things like that, but just the execution and the. Well, yeah, because I would consider the walrus part of the execution. Like, it was intense.
Guys, you heard it here first. I just want to say one thing.
What?
I am the walrus. Cuckoo cachoo.
I am here, you are here.
The Beatles don't sue, do they?
They're dead.
They're all dead.
Except for two. But they're not Beatles anymore.
The Beatles.
Where are we?
Dan, that is a great question. Why don't we just talk about scenes that we liked?
Okay, so definitely the drug dealer's house. Because I like the drug dealer a lot. I think he was one of my favorite characters because he did it so well. And I knew his rap was going to suck. I knew if we heard it, it was going to
terrible.
suck. But I was not expecting the way in which it was going to suck, where he was like basically inhaling, like kind of the Jack Black inward singing on the Tenacious D album, but it's like even worse. So he's like, you cannot hear what he's actually saying, but he's saying all the words out loud. And then both the dad and the son are like high as fuck because they took drugs out in the open. And then the kid's like, let's get into the fucking basement so we don't get caught.
Meth, apparently.
Yeah.
I'm thinking these things. Lynn, I know you know the feeling. Takes one to know one. The feeling I am a pyramid. And then we head to the west. In the bus.
Oh my God. I mean, so good. It's so good. Your lyrics and your timing.
That is what I've been saying.
That was astounding, Trey. I've never known a boy like you before.
Dude, I'm a soldier.
Oh, what? Trey, your laundry
What?
looks so freaking cute and cozy and comfortable. Do you mind if I dive in?
Damn right I do.
Oh. Oh my gosh. The textures. Oh, the aromas.
You need to get the fuck out of my dirty clothes right now.
Yeah, Dad, I'm coming in.
Trey, take off your clothes. We need more laundry.
You guys need to shut the fuck up. You're gonna wake up my parents.
What? No! No! You need to take off your clothes because we need more laundry.
This is my favorite part of this scene. The rapper kid's like, you guys need to get the fuck out of my house. My parents are here and they're getting investigated by the FBI. It's like, it's really tense right now. And he's like, you have to be quiet. And the dad is like, I'm not gonna be quiet. He's like, I want you to take your beard and rub it on my back. He's like, you're fucking weird, man. Both of you guys are weirdos. He's like, I'm not gonna do that.
But guess what? He does it.
It's so good. So he's taking his chin. The kid doesn't even really have a beard. It's like a John Depp beard, you know? And he's just slowly rubbing his little bristles on a grown man's back.
I feel like that was my favorite scene in the just like the way that he was reacting and how he was so deadpan and serious about it. It's like, dude, like he drops this persona he's developed as like the rapper meth dealer.
Yes,
he's like, get the fuck out of my house. Like,
Yeah.
it was
It's like,
pretty
you're
awesome.
gonna give me trouble. Oh man, it's so fucking good. And then the parents show up, his parents, the rappers, and they all get there. And the dad's like, statue! He pretends to be a statue. He yells it. And the father's like, who is this? He's like, yes, I'm talking to you. And then they somehow trick the parents into just like, they're just hanging out.
Because
They don't
like
realize they're high.
he's like, hey, it's me. I'm Larry's dad. And then they're like, oh, it's you. Yeah, nice to meet you.
Yeah. So then they see the mom's hair. And there's a great shot of like the whole world stops and it zooms into her curly blonde locks. And you're like, what are they going to do to this lady's hair? Because they're transfixed on it. And then the lady's like, give me a hug. And he's like, yeah. He comes up and hugs her. He starts eating her hair. And then the dad runs up behind her.
See,
goes to the
I
other
wish I had
side.
watched this with you. I feel like I
He
would have
starts
laughed a
eating her
lot
hair.
more if you were in the room laughing. Because I'm having a lot of fun listening to you laugh about you remembering.
You didn't think any of that was funny, though?
I thought it was funny, but I didn't think it was like at a point where I needed to laugh at it.
It was good. And then the parents freak out and they're screaming at them to leave and they run out of the house. The whole movie could have just been those two being way too high and trying to get somewhere. I don't know. I liked it. Let me think of some other moments in the film that I liked. Okay, so there's a point where Ben wants to take Meredith to the prom because she had never been to the prom. She got kicked out of her original prom, so it's kind of cute. So they go to this high school prom. They're going to sneak in. They find a passed out couple and they take their tickets. And I thought it was kind of cute how Ben is like, you know what? Hold on. And he checks to see if they're breathing because they're both passed out in the bushes. Like, yeah, they're still alive. It's fine. And then they leave, right? And we're going to play this clip because the lady who is doing the ticket booth to let the kids in is hilarious. I like this lady a lot.
I did enjoy her, but I
This
don't
was the
remember what she
funniest part
said
of
that
the
was so
movie.
funny.
I think we'll just play the clip and let it
Okay.
speak for itself.
So let me get this straight. You want to take this young lady into our prom to make up for the one she ruined 4 years ago?
Yeah,
Aw, that's actually kind of cute.
I thought so too.
You know what won't be cute? When I get hauled in front of a grand jury for letting 2 disturbed 20-somethings into an event with 300 vulnerable children. I coach golf, soccer, tennis, skiing, badminton, debate. I took the entire school to build a barn last summer. I didn't even use a ruler. I did that. This school can't lose me. All right, so I'm gonna need the two of you to get the fuck out of here.
Okay, let's go. Let's go.
Little millennial shit. God.
Whenever anybody curses in this movie too, when they drop the F-bomb specifically, it's used so effectively, and it's like a knife. They're just cutting right through whatever's happening. And it made me laugh so much. Just that line delivery of it, because it's not used a lot in the film. It's used sparingly. Was there any other scene that maybe you didn't like, or maybe you did like?
Well, the skinny dipping scene was not that great. Like I said before, the approachable penis.
It ended awkwardly. I enjoyed them at the lake together. This was with Ben and Meredith, and they were kind of hitting on each other and talking about how his whole time he's lived in this town, he's never been to this lake. And then she says a great line. She says, sometimes you have to be a tourist in your own town. And I'm like, yeah, that's a really good... Because a lot of people, they're like, oh, I hate where I live. I don't want to live here. And they're like, I just can't wait to get out of here. And then nobody... A lot of kids, especially when you're younger, because I was the same way, you don't appreciate where, like... the town you live in, I guess.
Right.
And I kind of appreciated that, because there's a lot of hints that lead up to what the character's going to do, like Larry interacting with the Marine. That's in our heads now. That's a clue. This scene about him maybe appreciating being at his house, or like living in his hometown more, and reasons why he would want to stay. They do a good job of... The best conflict in this movie is Ben choosing this job in his new career and going on with his new life, or staying with this girl who he hasn't known for too long, but is falling head over heels with. And I think they should have even played it up more about maybe Meredith being apprehensive about him staying, because they kind of do, where she's like, I don't want you to throw your career away just because you want to stay here with me. Because I feel like that's a pretty relatable issue that some people have. Because some people will like quit their jobs and move to like a whole other state to be with somebody. So it's a big risk. And I don't know. I enjoyed that a lot.
Right.
Those plots in the film.
So here's another one that I don't know. At first I liked it, but at no point would this ever exist. So I may want you to talk me through it. Whenever they're at the bar and they realize that drinks are like really fucking expensive, and this does lead to my favorite line in the entire film, and it was super quick, and I laughed the hardest at that line. But whenever they go get like a fifth of whiskey, and they're all in the photo booth together, like taking shots of it.
Oh yeah.
So they don't have to like spend money on drinks. And then that's whenever he meets Meredith again, and who number one, has a photo booth in the bar, and if there is one, who would be using that photo booth?
It's for drunk people, dude. Yeah, I can understand it.
But the girls were not drunk. I don't know. It was weird. It's like their only thing there was just for them to meet. But
yes,
what they were doing was they were like taking pictures of their body close up and like making it look like vaginas.
Yeah, so with their chin and shit. Yeah, that was pretty funny. Well, what was the thing that you liked the most about that scene?
So whenever he's talking to Meredith after like having his pants down, he was taking a picture of his actual butt. He's starting to flirt with her, and he's asking her for a number and stuff. But like, I forgot when he says in the conversation, but he's like, "Hey, do you want to share a drink?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's fucking terrible."
Oh yeah, that is a weird thing to say.
He's too poor.
Yeah,
to buy 2 drinks.
Yeah. Share a drink. Yeah, I didn't catch that.
It was. Wow. I'm like, it was. It wasn't like the funniest thing, but it was one of those moments where I'm like, like I did that. You poor as hell. So yeah, I mean, final thoughts. I'd say I'm fucking surprised. I like this movie as much as I did. I'm surprised too, you motherfucker.
It's a pleasant surprise. I mean, shit. I wanted to hurt you. I think I did hurt you to some degree. And I enjoyed this film, so...
But you didn't hurt the podcast. That's the issue.
We were
declaring war on the podcast, remember?
Oh. I mean, I think the very act of us doing this podcast is a war in and of itself to the listener, so... Gotcha, motherfucker. Boo. So, yeah. This leaves me more open to being like, you know what, maybe...
Maybe we should watch The Ridiculous Six.
No. As long as certain people are not in the films, and it's more I think it's more about like who's writing it, who's directing it. Yeah. And if Adam Sandler and his production company want to support these young actors and stuff, I'm all for it. I think it's a good idea. So what do you think, Dan?
Final thoughts. I mean, there were certain things. I don't want to repeat myself. There were certain things that made me laugh, but if you're gonna watch this film, watch it for David Spade. That's where I'm gonna go with it.
Okay.
And the guy who played Marty. What was his name?
Oh, Nate Faxton.
Nate Faxton. That's what
He's great in this movie too. Yeah,
he's fantastic. Because like they commit, and I like it when actors commit a lot.
I mean, you can definitely tell that David Spade is wearing a wig, but
Oh yeah, Jared, I'm
still enjoyed
sending
it.
you a link on Amazon
God.
to the new
Fuck.
film I'm about to assign. It's called Head Game.
Head Games.
Look at the both. I don't know if your Amazon is going to do it because I have the cover, but then in the background of the synopsis, I see a still of the film, and it looks fucking amazing to me.
All
So
right,
it's called
let's
Head
see
Game. Head Game. There we go.
God damn.
I'm going to read the Amazon, well, it's from the IMDb one. A group of young people awake, locked inside a warehouse with cameras screwed into their heads.
What the fuck?
It becomes apparent that they are unwilling competitors in a deadly game, and they will need to murder each other if they hope to survive. Cameras are screwed into their heads. If you are not seeing this right now, it's in the middle of their fucking forehead. It's a gigantic camera lens, and it's hilarious looking. And I really, really, really want to watch it, even though it's going to be very bad.
Oh man, this movie's gonna be terrible.
But look at it. It's in
There
the
is
middle of their
no way
forehead.
this film can be good.
Oh, but
the
what if it
logistics
is?
of the camera in the forehead is gonna be so bad.
I know, but it's also just so... It reminds me of Videodrome. I'm just like, oh, this is so fucking cool. But at the same time, they're not going to be able to handle it well.
Okay,
gonna
I'm
suck.
envisioning them trying to do first-person view, but it'll look like through it. Because if they do the first-person view through someone's forehead, shit's gonna look weird.
Yeah. You'll be able to see their eyebrows.
Yeah, but you know what? Maybe it would work because they could just like attach a little GoPro whenever they're shooting the first-person scenes. I don't know. But also, camera and brain? Question mark?
It doesn't make sense, but it does. I don't know. I don't know. I have a
Dan?
lot of faith that I'm going to like it, but not for the reasons that I should like it. It's not going to be a good movie, but it's going to make me think really hard about how there's a camera in flesh.
Dan?
Yeah.
Why camera and brain? Dan?
Yes.
Why camera and brain?
Because I said so. Do you think this is a war? Do you think this is a war assignment? Because I really want to watch it just based on
Dan.
cameras screwed in their heads. I can't say that enough.
The war continues.
I can't.
It's only gonna escalate.
Okay, whatever. I'm not like I said, I'm not intending for this to be like a low blow. I really want to watch this movie, despite how shitty it looks.
The Movie Wars, 2018. Well, guys, I hope this is something. Find us where you're gonna find us. We got Twitter, old boys _podcast. We are hosted on podbean.com. If you go there and search Old Boys, you will find us. I believe we're finally coming up on Google with the new hosting site, which is nice. So simple Google search of Old Boys should find us, or Old Boys Podcast, I should say. Dan, is there any other place we're at? I think we're at Snapchat, right, or some shit.
Instagram, the email. That's about it. Go on to fucking iTunes and rate us, please.
What's the email?
oldboyspodcast@gmail.com.
Gmail. Okay, yep.
All one word. We're still on SoundCloud, giving me them. I haven't done the clips in a while. I should do that this coming weekend.
Son of a bitch.
Yours is definitely going up. Jared masterfully edited last week. Not last week, 2 weeks ago, whenever we did Tao. If you haven't heard that episode, go back and listen to it. It is fantastic.
I put a lot of work in that.
He
into
did.
editing. Probably too much work.
But it paid off so well, especially the first minute and a half.
Now you understand why I wanted to edit it. I was like, Dan,
Yeah.
let me do this episode. I got an idea. Oh, shit. Well, I hope this was something, guys. Hearts and kisses. Dan, you have the final word.
Oh, do I? Okay, well, here's my final word. The end. Thank you.
Bellissimo. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.